Hey everyone, it's Fairykin. Just letting you know there's a button below that allows you to become a member of my channel. This is a $2 a month subscription that supports me directly. When you subscribe to this, you have access to special updates from me from YouTube, and special access to member-specific channels on my Discord, and free access to phone backgrounds featuring my dolls. Every time I make a new doll, you will have access to these. And you will have access to my new videos up to 2 days earlier than everybody else. Thanks for considering, and on to the video. Today is a very special collab featuring Kay's Oak Factory and Dolly Mixtures. This is a Pride theme collab, and we are all working together because not only are we pretty close at this point, but we're all also non-binary and or trans. This collab was supposed to be out during, Pride Month, June, but I was busy moving and some other things happened with my collab partners and we're a bit late. But we did manage to make it within non-binary week though, so that's pretty cool. But who needs Pride Month to celebrate Pride anyway? We can celebrate Pride anytime we want. The theme of this collab is simply trans. Now, a small detail about the last couple months for me, I just moved to a whole new town and a whole new job. Things are going great and I'm super happy, but the thing is that I was also working on this doll and the concept while I was moving, and that scrambled my brains a little bit. So I'd say that I didn't exactly meet the theme super accurately. My brain was just thinking, pride, rainbows, yes. Anyway, my doll will be inspired by drag queens. This is an aesthetic that has always kind of intimidated me and made me a little bit uncomfortable. And I didn't really understand why until recently. I made an effort to understand where it comes from, the history of it, and what it means. And even then, my understanding is still probably pretty limited at this point. From what I understand, performing in drag means to dress up as a different gender than you were assigned, and perform as a caricature based on this. What we know as drag races didn't start out this way. Drag performances started in Shakespearean plays when only men were allowed to participate in shows, so they played women as well. Eventually, this slowly led its way into queer culture covertly, and that slowly became what we know now as drag races, which are kind of like beauty pageants, but super extra and not as weird. Drag, simply put, is just an art form that is rather extreme. The characters that the artists come up with are sometimes very in-depth. I never understood why the style was so extreme, but then I realized that this is just art like anything else that I like to enjoy, and I had to break it down why it made me uncomfortable, and surprise, surprise, it was only due to social conditioning. So anyway, this doll is a tribute to drag artists, learning more, and queerness as a whole. Enjoy! I started out with a Nathan Rott as my base doll. I chose this one because of the sculpted musculature in his limbs and face. This doll is a hybrid unicorn zombie, so he also has unicorn features. I thought that the unicorn aspect can represent the unique experience that queer people have in this world. That's kind of cheesy and a little bit dumb, but I don't know, I thought it was kind of fun. I chose to paint over the muscles to look like those muscle diagrams that you see, but in rainbow to symbolize the fact that who you are, how you love, and what you need is always a part of you no matter what. No matter where you are or who you're with, it's always underneath and it's always accessible to you. With this, I forgot to film it. Again, moving scrambled my wee little head. But I also painted transitional colors in between where different colors touched. It was subtle, but I kind of liked it, I think. I wish I had had time to do this a little bit better. The colors and the edges aren't as clean as I would like. Here it is all done. Now for the hair. Drag queens usually have kind of huge hair, and I really wanted to emulate that, but I'm afraid I didn't really have time to commit to that. I was really trying to make it within June, but obviously it didn't happen. Anyway, instead of that, I decided to go with a kind of festival route of the hair, which is assorted textures and colors, lots of ribbon and yarn. I do this by separating yarn and grabbing random ribbons and textures and other stuff and plunging them into the head with a rerouting tool. I did this kind of randomly. There wasn't really any plan. I just sort of went at it and it turned out like this. I tried to do 2 bubble braids down each side, but I didn't like it, so I did just 1 and then left half of the hair down. Now I pin all their hair back into a cloth in preparation for the face up. While I'm here, I clean up some of the edges with rubbing alcohol because this dissolves acrylic paint. Rubbing alcohol also dissolves Mr. Super Clear if you're interested in that, so if you need to like take off a part of a face up or take off an entire face up, I would recommend using rubbing alcohol because it doesn't make the face up sticky. Whereas if you remove it with acetone, it takes a long time and it gets all sticky and weird. To start the face up, I spray 1 or 2 coats of MSC matte sealant, and then I go to work with my Prismacolor watercolor pencils. Going in with red on the lips, I'm going to overdraw them a bit to get the shape that I want. Then with white, I mark in the shapes of the eyes. I decided I wanted a rainbow gradient for eyeshadow on the eyelids. Here I'm mostly testing to see if my pencils will blend by themselves and be opaque enough. I wasn't sure how I wanted the makeup to look quite yet, so I was just testing out the colors. Before I put any colors into the eyes and the iris, I always pencil in a full background of white for that. This usually helps the color of the iris later be more opaque. For eyebrows, I want a high and extreme arch. I kind of had a hard time getting the expression that I wanted, but I also wasn't entirely sure what I wanted either, so I just kind of let it happen. Here I'm going in with Mungyo Soft Pastels for contouring. The current drag aesthetic has a lot of bold cut creases and harsh contour edges, so I contour his nose and cheekbones and chin. I should have done their forehead too, but I sort of forgot that that was a thing. Contouring is not something I'm super familiar with. I did watch a lot of drag makeup videos for this though, so you know, I learned a bit about the style, but I am still not very great at it. Now I figure out the eyebrows and decide that I want the eyeshadow to go all the way up to the brow bone. So I give it a background of white, and here I do more of the musculature with the rainbow colors in the face. It looks like I'll need a few layers of my sealant to get that as opaque as I would like. With a black pencil, I define the shape of the eyes and the eyebrows. Here I decide to outline the muscles as well. I liked the effect that this gives. It makes it a bit more graphic. Then I seal all that in and go in again. With this layer, I will add more and brighter colors to what I've already laid down. With white, I add highlights to the lips. And now I'm forming the rainbow gradient on the eyelids. I want his eyes to be brown, so I went in with a terracotta color for the iris. Another layer on the muscles, and I also chose to outline the muscles on the face as well. I sprayed another layer of sealant and go to work again. With this layer, I'm going in with the watercolor pencils that I've activated with water. Using this is kind of like using acrylic paint, except you can pick it back up with water again after it's already dried. This also means that the colors will be more vibrant as well. I mark in some details that look sorta like tendons or ribbons of muscles. I thought that they looked kind of flat, and this helped a lot. And with that, the face-up is pretty much all done. I paint on UV resin on their eyes and lips to give the face some more life, and then I cured this in my window under direct sunlight. Now for the outfit. Because her details are already asymmetrical, I wanted to make the outfit asymmetrical as well, and I wanted to do a dress like this. So I did, and it turned out like this, and I hated it, and I thought it looked not great. It didn't look how I wanted at all, so I'm gonna start again. This time I'm going to make leg warmers, which I only actually needed to make one because I only am using one. This is basically just like a little tube of fabric. The material I used was from an old pair of socks. Then I built a small rectangle skirt, but once I laid it on them, the fabric didn't lay right. So I made a second one with the same layers and the same colors. I just used circles instead. I want to make them a little bikini type top out of gold fabric. I love this fabric, it's so fun to work with. And I put pleats in the middle of the cups so that it would be form-fitting, and now I add straps to it in a fun pattern. Once I tie it on, it looks like this. And do you see what it looks like? Do you see what it is? It's a pentagram. Anyway, I made some shoes. I made these massive platform weirdness things, and I painted them gold and put glitter on them, but once I tried them on, they were just too huge and bulky. I didn't like how they looked with the everything, so I'm gonna make something else. To get what I want, though, I'm going to have to change the shape of the feet that I'm working with. I experiment with this stray foot that I've had laying around. I want to melt the doll's feet into an arched shape so that I can put high heels on them. I start by trying to boil it to heat the plastic up enough to make it flexible. This didn't work, so I tried using active boiling water in the pot, and that wasn't hot enough either. And melted it above the flame until all the parts that I needed to bend were shiny, and then I bended it, and there you go. I forgot that the masculine Monster High dolls have rubber feet rather than the hard plastic feet, so these will actually be easier to melt and shape into how I need. And something I forgot though was that you need ice water to cool it down to set it back in place after you melt it, otherwise it pops back into where it started. But it worked out, and they should be arched enough to do what I need. From here, I will be building a pair of high heels. I don't believe I've ever done this before, so this will be fun. I watched a My Froggy Stuffs tutorial, and I just kind of went from there on that, like, baseline, guideline, whatever. I traced out both feet on some cardstock and then cut them out, and then with the same cardstock, I roll a tight cone shape out of it, and comparing it to the foot, it looks like it needs to be a little bit shorter, so I made sure I cut that off at an angle and then secure it with glue and then paint it black. I wanted to paint the top gold, but I didn't like the texture the paint I was using was making, so I decided to cover it with gold fabric. I snip around the edges and glue it down and then make a cover for the bottom of the shoe with more fabric. I slide it over the heel, and here I measure out some ribbons to hold her feet in. And then I glue the ends in between the shoe and the cover. And I also glued a ribbon going straight up and down the heel and one across that so that I can tie the foot into the shoe. And then, as my last finishing touch, I glue on false eyelashes on her top and bottom lid, because drag queens usually have huge eyelashes. It's just kind of a thing. I've never done this before, and I think it went rather well. I actually really like it. And with that, he's done. Super happy with how they came out. I've decided to call him Fruitful Applause because drag queens usually have pretty clever names. Fruitful because fruity, and applause because drag and sometimes queerness is a performance. And I also decided that I figure they're kind of comfortable with any pronouns, like whatever she inspires for you, you can call them that. I like to call them all pronouns just because I think it's kind of fun. As for how she identifies, I think that they're not really sure. He just likes to go with the flow. Maybe gender fluid, maybe they just all around identify as queer. I kind of have just let that be kind of up in the air a little bit. Experiences like that and identity is kind of always changing and is never really the same from day to day, or at least it's not for me. I don't know, I think leaving something open for change is not only important but also helpful. As for my collab partners, they also have some cool dolls to share with you. I'm gonna leave you on a cliffhanger and not tell you what they are so that you have to go watch and find out. Their videos are available to watch right now. You can find them on the icon on the top corner or in the description below. I hope you all have a wonderful day, lots of love to everyone, and happy Pride. Not just in June, but always. Bye!